Tonight, on the season premiere of E60. One of the most hated owners in sports.
He wants to do better for the Redskins.
A lifelong Redskins fan.
This is my dream.
For the first time on television, the Dan Snyder You Don't Know, an E60 exclusive. Baseball's model franchise. A remarkable season. Now, the small market engine is geared to take down the Yankees. A bitter college football rivalry. A loving family.
The thing that's amazing is he's going to heal a family.
Two brothers, a 1% chance, and a miracle at Michigan. Extreme sport.
The fittest man on the planet.
Extreme danger. Poisonous snakes, deadly alligators, and a death-defying triathlete. The best stories in sports. Tonight, on the season premiere of E60.
You gotta take your pants off.
All right, everyone, we're back. Let's get it going. Rachel, what do you got?
There are two things that are important in Washington, D.C. The president and the Redskins. Since a very young local owner took over 10 years ago, Dan Snyder, there has been a level of angst. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he has barely spoken in public.
Daniel Snyder's been such a polarizing figure in the NFL.
Polarizing would suggest that there are people who like him.
He's hated by a lot of people in D.C. because they go out and they spend $100 million on Albert Haynesworth, but there are some Redskins fans who like him. I mean, he's willing to go out and try and make the team better every year.
That's what interests me most about this story is how can a guy be so successful off the field, but his team is an abject failure on the field?
It is interesting when you have an owner who grew up loving this football team. To him, it's also a big part of his identity and his relationship with a father who's died.
He is a lifelong Washington Redskins fan. After a subpar 11 years, no one is more relieved for this Sunday's win than the vilified Redskins owner, Dan Snyder.
My biggest complaint is maybe he was just too much of a fan than an owner.
He runs the team like a fantasy team. You know, he needs to have a core, and we don't really see the core like we used to in the old days.
Let's start maturing. That's what I'd say. And I hope that this is the beginning of it.
Snyder has turned the team into a $1.5 billion behemoth, the second most valuable franchise in the NFL. Yet his team's on-field performance has declined. During his 11 years of ownership, Snyder has gone through 7 head coaches and a series of free agent busts. The 46-year-old has been described as brilliant, foolish, passionate, and reckless. But few actually know much about Snyder. He does not like the spotlight.
He mic'd me up, so I warn everybody. Tony, unmic me. I want to get him to take this thing off me. I've never been mic'd and I don't like it. I'm taking it off.
I'm shy with cameras. I'm shy with media.
How come?
I don't know, because I've been beaten up so much.
Most recently, media criticism is centered on Snyder's $100 million acquisition of defensive lineman Albert Haynesworth.
He's a guy that everybody wanted, even though he had questionable character. And Dan Snyder decided we needed him. In fact, he's been a monster bust. It seems like Dan Snyder's solution through the years has been to just throw money at the problem. As long as this organization loses, the fans are going to be upset, and they're going to hold Dan Snyder accountable.
I've done a lot of things wrong, and the public figure thing I didn't understand. When you first buy, like the Redskins, there's no instruction manual. I was 34 when I bought the team.
Which, can you even believe that now?
No, I can't believe they would actually give a team to a 34-year-old. I'm not sure I would now.
Snyder accepts responsibility for his mistakes, but insists the Redskins are not his rich man's toy, as his critics have claimed. He tells a much different story.
I was born with a spoon in my mouth, but it was choking me and rusted. No, so, and no, I wasn't from a well-to-do family.
Daniel Snyder was born and raised in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Silver Spring, Maryland, Redskins country. And no fan was more passionate than his father, Jerry. Tell me about you and your dad on a game day Sunday.
Oh, we were freaked out. My dad was like always excited. We were heartbroken when we lost, and we were jumping up and down, losing our voices when we won.
Dan was 6 years old in 1971 when his father, a freelance news writer, took him to his first game.
My dad was holding my hand. I was like, oh, wow. And then the players were warming up, and I was just this awe feeling. It was spectacular. I think from when I was 6, I started wearing Redskins gear and belt buckles and all sorts of stuff, and just fell in love with it.
You mean Redskins gear, sort of?
Don't embarrass
like
me.
This?
I'm gonna kill my wife. Okay.
You mean this that says Danny on the back?
Okay. That's embarrassing.
I like that if
my mother and my wife are. We're just gonna put that over there. No way.
The Redskins
no
gear.
way. It's embarrassing. I was a little kid. That was Sonny Jurgensen's shirt with my name on the back, though.
Snyder's father was his biggest supporter when he dropped out of the University of Maryland during his sophomore year. By the age of 20, he'd made his first million arranging plane trips to sporting events. When he then started a magazine, his father quit his job to help.
He was really brave because we ran out of money and needed some more money, and he took a second mortgage, and he helped me, and he was fantastic to be with.
Snyder's magazine folded after 2 years, and he lost everything. In 1989, he once again turned to his family, who maxed out credit cards to help start a marketing company called Snyder Communications.
And what happened is we just kept going. And if this didn't work, we just keep moving on forward and just keep trying to move forward every day. And it wasn't the end goal, hey, let's see if we can make a ton of money and all this. We were trying to survive.
He did more than that. In 7 years, Snyder Communications, which specialized in product sampling and telemarketing, grew to a 12,000-employee operation, with annual revenues reaching $1 billion. When it went public in 1996, Snyder, at age 31, became the youngest CEO of a New York Stock Exchange company. 2 years later, his father called with news that would change their lives.
He said to me, have you seen the Post? I said, no. He said, on the cover of the Washington Post, the Redskins are going to be auctioned. Can you believe it?
He organized an investment group that bought the Redskins for $800 million. 10 years after being completely broke, Dan Snyder, at age 34, became the youngest franchise owner in NFL history.
I want the Redskins to be a top team in the nation. What I did realize was that I've always been a Redskin fan, and this is my dream.
I said, Dad, I got the team. He says, are you just doing this to joke, torture me? And I says, no, I'm telling you. I got the team. We got the team. And he started crying.
His dad was just thrilled. He would always elbow me and stuff. Can you believe this? Look at this. Can you believe this? I mean, just a ridiculous fan, and his son buys a team.
And he would always joke around about being in practice. He says, is this the best out here at practice? He just loved hanging out. The team, he'd go down and have lunch. And the players, you know, they liked him a lot.
The first year of Snyder's ownership, the team finished 10-6 and made the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. But things quickly started to sour. Snyder made a series of high-profile and expensive mistakes. The signing of past their prime veterans like Deion Sanders and Bruce Smith, and hiring of Steve Spurrier, who had no NFL experience, were all failures.
I was more just the fan, the average fan, feeling of, pissed at 5 years, haven't made the playoffs. This is not going to work. And you get that, you know, so how do we fix this thing? I said, well, I can fix that. I can fix it. You know, I can fix a business. I can fix issues.
I knew he had quite a challenge, both on and off the field. We've all been lured. And what is the lure? The lure is the hope of winning.
While the Redskins struggled on the field under new head coach Marty Schottenheimer, in 2001 came crushing news off the field. Snyder was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
The hardest thing was telling my father I had cancer. That was the hardest person to tell.
What was that like?
He said, no. He said, no. He wouldn't accept that.